This word misogyny, is that an accurate word for him? I don't believe that it is. Let's take a listen.
Foundation, which is going to be dedicated towards charitable acts of both genders. I have been very, very private about certain elements of my personal life, as has my brother. However, my brother has a daughter, and she's beautiful. She's my niece. I don't want her to grow up in a world where women are hated. I don't want her to grow up in a world where men are oppressive and hurting women. Why would I possibly want that? I want her to find a strong man who can protect her, who can provide for her, who can make sure she's safe, but I don't want anything bad to ever happen to her. My own personal circumstances regarding family are something that are once again confidential, but I can confirm to you that the last thing I would ever want is for women to be marginalized in the future, for genuine misogyny or sexism to take hold on the planet. I would completely and utterly be very unhappy with that for my own personal reasons.
Okay, so
the Tate Foundation is going to be dedicated.
Yeah, I mean, I believe him, and I know people will point to there's one video out there that was chopped up where he's talking about, oh, if a girl comes at me with a machete, I would just, take a slap to the face or whatever. I mean, first of all, there was a lot of jest around that. Secondly, he's talking about somebody coming at him with a machete, and I've heard numerous instances where he has in interview said that you'd never hit a woman. You never hit a woman. I heard it from him this morning. I was watching an interview with him on Fresh and Fit, and he was like, never hit a woman. So my question to you is this. The word misogyny is a very powerful word. To me, that means someone who hates women. I don't see him as someone who hates women. Why has this label been effectively used against him? And do you think it's accurate in any sense?
I think that when I've had this leveled at me for 20 years now, but when we use the term misogyny, it is it closes the conversation. It stops it's a conversation stopper is what it is. It's almost like who hurt you, right? It's like it's a label so that people will dismiss whatever you have to say about anything. It's kind of like it's interesting to me that we have these stopper terms. Misogyny is one of them. Like mansplaining is another one. Like how dare you try to explain to me how I think or what the ways how women are. Like it's like, no, I'm relating to you some information here. You can take it or you can leave it, but the fact that it's coming from a man who's explaining something to you, now it's mansplaining. Now, if I go and I say, well, women are like this and men are like this. I don't know if you're familiar with the guy, James Damore, but he was made famous back in 2017 or 2018. He was an employee at Google, and he had put out some kind of memo, or he had made some sort of public statement that men and women are different biologically, neurologically, psychologically. We're evolved to be different things. And that goes against the narrative of the blank slate. It goes against the narrative of social constructionism. And that was enough to get him fired from Google just for expressing those opinions. So is he a misogynist for expressing those? Or is, I've been doing this for 20 some odd years now in the manosphere. I've met a handful of people who I could really say are honest to goodness, misogynists. They really, really hate women just because they have this irrational hatred for that particular sex. However, I can also point out women that I've known along the way who are misandrists, and we don't know what that term is. If you're typing in Microsoft Word, and you typed out misogynist, you'd be just a normal word. Type out misandrist in Microsoft Word, and it gets the little red arrow underneath because it thinks that it's been misspelled because it doesn't know that word. And so when we're controlling language and we're using terminology to describe someone, when we talk about misogyny, anything that goes against this sort of gynocentric social order, anything that goes against anything that shows some sort of unflattering truth about women's nature or the interconnectivity between men's nature and women's nature, anything that goes against that is labeled misogyny because it's just like censorship. It's just like stopping the conversation. Don't mansplain to me. You're a misogynist. The only men who are like you are only incels like you. That's another stopper right there. Is the only person who would have that question in their head must be there's something defective about you. There must be something wrong with you. So we need labels and we need categories to put men into so we don't have to have those conversations. It's the same as he's been cut off, because of big tech. But when we're having the conversations, when we get to the point where we're in open debate and I start saying, well, women's nature is thus, men's nature is thus. But if I say something that is unflattering about women's nature, then I'm a misogynist just for the question. just for the suggestion that there might be some differences between us, just for the suggestion that maybe there's some inconsistencies here, just for the suggestion that there's a separate standard of justice for men and for women. If I go into detail about that, I'm mansplaining, I'm a misogynist, I'm an incel, I'm black pill doomer, whatever it is. You're one of those guys in the manosphere, and we should no longer listen to you because now we can put that label on you.
Yeah, I mean, I've been called a woman hater myself. I'm a woman. And they'll say, you're a woman hater. And I say, why? And they say, well, because you're pro-life. What? That makes me a woman hater? And then they'll say, well, because you rattle against, female promiscuity. Well, yeah, hell yeah, I do, because I think it's a huge problem. That's because I love women. I love being a woman. I will say that all the time. I love it. I think women are beautiful. I think, the fact that I birthed a baby, I'm a superhero, man. I am, so I take a lot of pride in the things that make women uniquely female, and there are things that we can do that men can't do, and there's things that men can do that we can't do. So I take a lot of pride. Sounds inherently
unequal, doesn't it? That's well,
unequal. Yeah. And I said, you and I had that conversation. You and I had that conversation about equality and what does that really mean, and what aspect of life are we talking about? And the truth of the matter is, I don't think Tate is a misogynist. I don't think that's the proper word for him at all. But honestly, if he were, I still wouldn't want him banned. Like, I don't have to condone everything that everyone out there is saying. There's tons of women out on YouTube right now, everywhere, TikTok, that have man-hating nonsense out there. I don't like it. I don't support it. I have a little boy I'm bringing into this world. I don't want him growing up in a world where he's going to be judged negatively on day one because he's a biological male. But I also don't want those people banned, because we're supposed to be exchanging in a free exchange of ideas here. And we're supposed to all be growing as people. So I just think it's utterly ridiculous what's going on. And people better wake up. I don't care where you stand on these issues. You better wake up.
What you're seeing, what you're describing right now is something I talked about in my fourth book, which is The Rational Male Religion. But in the introduction of this, I explain this, is that we are at a confluence right now here in the 21st century where we have rationality and reason that is conflicting with emotionalism. Mm-hmm. So the reason why people don't want to hear what Andrew Tate has to say, or I have to say, or even you have to say, depending on what the topic is, the reason why they don't want you to have a voice is because it makes them feel bad. It's because there's a negativity, there's a bad feels, because what happens is they have to confront the fact that there is this, we live in a data age right now. The reason why I can write the books that I do is because I have access to the internet. I have access to research. I have access to the dots that I connect for my books. I am in no way an evolutionary psychologist or an anthropologist or a sociologist or a neurologist or an endocrinologist or any of those other ologies, but I have access to all of that data, and I can make the connections that people simply don't want to make right now, or they're unable or unwilling to make right now, because the conclusions that they come to end up being very, very negative, or maybe they become overly positive. It just kind of depends. But what you're seeing right now is you're seeing the confluence of rationality and reason being unignorable, that is conflicting with our investments in a 20th century and old order way of emotionalism, because all of our beliefs and all of our investments are in that emotionalism right now. That's why we have such a problem with like progressive liberals. That's why we think everything's degenerate right now. That's why Hollywood sucks. That's why Marvel movies and Disney and Pixar and all that that's why it sucks right now, because we're still trying to broadcast and push out this emotional feel good messaging, when at the same time we're looking at data. The data is unignorable. So when somebody like me even just asks a question, have you ever thought about this aspect of human nature? Oh, there's no such thing as human nature. That makes you feel bad. How dare you, bring that up? You're a misogynist for even asking that question, because only misogynists bring up that question. What that is it's a conflict between emotionalism, a lifestyle and a belief and an ego investment in emotionalism, versus reality, versus rationality and reason. And that's why I think and this is happening not just in the manosphere, but it's happening in politics, it's happening in religion, it's happening in how we organize society. It's happening on so many different levels right now, because we're now in the 20th century and we're going, you know what? Maybe the way that we were thinking in the 20th century is different than what we should be thinking in the 21st century. And now we have this data that conflicts with all of that. And so it's not even so much the the banning of the speech, the reason why they want to ban speech, the reason why they don't want you to talk about transgenderism or what God knows whatever else is because what might make somebody feel bad, right? It's the participation trophy generation is a result of emotionalism or a belief or an organized society that's based on emotionalism versus based on what is objective reality.
If you like the short clip, you can catch another one here, or you can catch the full episode right here.